This is Max and Mia Podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Max and Mia Podcast.
Hi there, I'm Mia, and this is my co-host Max. How are you doing today, Max?
I'm doing great, thanks. Actually, I just came back from my morning run. I'm feeling pretty energetic right now.
Oh, that's perfect timing. And hello to all our amazing listeners out there. Thank you so much for joining us today. Whether you're listening during your commute, at home, or maybe even at the gym.
Right. We really appreciate you spending time with us. You know, Mia, speaking of the gym, I've been thinking about trying some new activities lately.
Oh, really? What kind of activities?
Well, I've always been curious about rock climbing. It looks challenging but fun. What about you? Do you have any sports goals this year?
That's interesting. I've been wanting to learn how to play tennis properly. I can hit the ball, but my technique needs work. And you know what? This brings us perfectly to today's topic.
Absolutely. Today we're going to talk about something that connects people all around the world, sports. We'll explore different types of sports, discuss our favorites, and share some interesting experiences.
That's right. Sports are such a universal language, aren't they? Whether you love playing them or just watching them, there's always something exciting to discover. So get comfortable and let's dive into the wonderful world of sports.
But before we start our first conversation, let's look at some useful vocabulary words that will help you understand everything better.
Great idea. Today we have 5 interesting words. Max, why don't you start with the first one?
Vocabulary preview.
Sure. The first word is fierce. This means very intense or strong, especially in competition. Here's an example. The rivalry between these two teams is really fierce. They always play their hearts out against each other.
I'd say fierce also means showing a lot of passion and determination. For example, she's a fierce competitor who never gives up even when she's losing.
Perfect. The second word is breakthrough. This is when someone achieves something important for the first time, like reaching a new level. Here's an example. Winning my first tournament was a real breakthrough in my tennis career.
I think of a breakthrough as advancing after having difficulty with something. For example, after months of training, I finally had a breakthrough and learned how to serve correctly.
Great. Our third word is stamina. This refers to your ability to keep going for a long time without getting tired. Here's an example. Marathon runners need incredible stamina to finish the race.
Right. Stamina is your physical and mental strength to continue an activity. For example, playing 3 sets of tennis really tests your stamina, especially on hot days.
Number 4 is momentum. This is the feeling of moving forward with energy and success. Here's an example. After scoring the first goal, our team gained momentum and kept attacking.
Momentum can also mean when things start going well and you feel confident. For example, I was losing the first set, but winning that long rally gave me momentum to come back.
And our final word is underdog. This describes a person or team that people don't think will win. Here's an example. Everyone thought we were the underdog, but we surprised everyone and won the championship.
An underdog is someone who faces a difficult challenge but fights anyway. For example, being the youngest player in the tournament made me the underdog, but I loved proving people wrong.
Wonderful. Those are our 5 words for today. Keep them in mind as we move into our conversations.
Now, let's jump into our first chat about sports.
Hey, Jake. I saw your post on social media about joining the basketball team. How's that going?
Oh, hi, Sarah. Well, it's been quite an adventure, actually. I never played organized basketball before, so I'm definitely the underdog on the team. Most of these guys have been playing since they were kids.
That must be challenging. What made you decide to try basketball now?
You know, I've always been into individual sports like running and swimming, but I wanted to try something different. Something that involved teamwork. Plus, I needed to build more stamina for my overall fitness.
That's smart thinking. How are your teammates treating you?
They're actually really supportive. At first, I was worried they might be fierce competitors who wouldn't want a beginner around, but it's the opposite. They help me with techniques and give me tips during practice.
That's wonderful. Have you had any breakthrough moments yet?
Actually, yes. Last week during scrimmage, I finally understood how to read the game better. I mean, before I was just running around trying to get the ball, but now I can see patterns and anticipate where to move. It was like everything clicked.
That sounds amazing. I remember when I started playing volleyball, I had a similar experience. The game suddenly made sense.
Right. And once I had that breakthrough, I gained so much momentum. I scored my first basket during a real practice game, and the whole team cheered. It felt incredible.
I bet. You know, I've been thinking about trying a new sport myself. I've been doing volleyball for 3 years now, but I'm curious about other activities.
What sports are you considering?
Well, I've always been interested in rock climbing. It looks like it requires different skills than team sports, more mental focus and upper body strength.
That's fascinating. Rock climbing seems like it would really test your stamina in a different way than volleyball.
Definitely. In volleyball, you have short bursts of intense activity, but rock climbing is more about sustained effort and problem solving. I think it would be a good challenge.
You should totally try it. You know what I learned from starting basketball? The skills you develop in one sport actually help with others. My running background gave me good endurance, and that really helps during long practices.
That's a great point. My volleyball experience has taught me about quick reactions and teamwork. Maybe those skills could transfer to climbing in some way.
Absolutely. Plus, trying new sports keeps things interesting. I was getting a bit bored with just running all the time.
Oh, that's true. And how do you balance practicing basketball with your other activities?
It's been tricky, honestly. Basketball practice is 3 times a week, and I still want to maintain my running routine. I've had to be more strategic about my schedule and make sure I'm getting enough rest.
Smart approach. Recovery is so important, especially when you're learning new movements and techniques.
Definitely. My coach always says that rest is when your body actually gets stronger. And with basketball being so different from what I'm used to, my muscles are working in new ways.
That makes sense. When I first started volleyball, I was sore in places I didn't even know I had muscles.
Haha, same here. Who knew that pivoting and jumping could make your legs feel so different than running does?
It's amazing how each sport challenges your body differently. That's what makes trying new activities so exciting, I think.
Completely agree. And the mental challenge is just as important. Basketball requires so much strategy and quick decision-making.
That's what attracts me to rock climbing, too. It's like solving a puzzle with your body while managing fear and building confidence.
You've definitely convinced me that you should try it. Maybe we can motivate each other to keep pushing our boundaries in our new sports.
I love that idea. It's always easier to stay motivated when you have someone who understands the challenge of learning something completely new.
Wow, that was a really interesting conversation between Sarah and Jake. Let's break down what we just heard.
I loved how natural their discussion was. They were talking about something many of us can relate to, trying a new sport as an adult. Did you notice how they used our vocabulary words?
Absolutely. Jake described himself as the underdog on his basketball team because he was new to organized basketball. This is a perfect use of the word. He was the person people might not have believed in at first.
And when Jake talked about his breakthrough moment, that was so relatable. He described how suddenly everything clicked and he could understand the game better. That's what breakthrough means, making important progress after struggling.
Right. Then he mentioned gaining momentum after scoring his first basket. The success gave him confidence and energy to keep improving. That's how momentum works in sports and in life.
I also noticed they talked about stamina in different ways. Jake needed it for basketball practice, and Sarah mentioned how rock climbing would test stamina differently than volleyball. It's interesting how different sports challenge our endurance in various ways.
Good observation. And what about the word fierce? Jake was worried his teammates might be fierce competitors who wouldn't help a beginner, but they turned out to be supportive instead.
That's a great point about expectations versus reality. Speaking of the conversation structure, did you notice how they shared personal experiences? Sarah connected with Jake by talking about her own volleyball journey.
Yes. That's what made the conversation flow so well. They weren't just talking about sports in general. They were sharing real feelings and experiences. Jake admitted he was getting bored with just running, and Sarah expressed her curiosity about rock climbing.
I found it interesting how they discussed transferable skills. Jake realized his running background helped with basketball endurance, and Sarah wondered if her volleyball skills might help with climbing.
That's such an important concept. Many people think they can't try new sports because they're not athletic enough, but really, any physical activity builds skills that can help with others.
And they both mentioned the mental aspects of sports. Jake talked about strategy and quick decision-making in basketball, while Sarah described rock climbing as solving a puzzle with your body.
That's something people often forget. Sports aren't just physical. They challenge your mind too. Whether it's reading the game, managing fear, or staying focused, there's always a mental component.
That's right. And what did you think about their discussion of balancing different activities? Jake had to figure out how to fit basketball practice into his running schedule.
That's so practical. Many listeners probably face similar challenges. How do you make time for new interests while keeping up with existing hobbies or responsibilities? Jake's approach of being strategic about his schedule is really smart.
And Sarah's idea about recovery being essential was valuable too. When you're learning new movements, your body needs time to adjust and get stronger.
You're right, Mia. And finally, the conversation ended on such a positive note. They decided to motivate each other in their sports journeys. That shows how sports can build connections between people, even when you're doing different activities.
That's beautiful. It reminds us that trying new things is always easier when you have help from friends who understand your challenges.
Now, before we dive into our second conversation, let's introduce 5 more useful vocabulary words that will help you understand what's coming next.
Great. These words will be particularly helpful for our next chat. Max, would you like to start with the first one?
Vocabulary preview.
Our first word is rivalry. This means a competitive relationship between two people or teams who often compete against each other. Here's an example. The rivalry between our school and the neighboring town has lasted for over 20 years.
I think rivalry also describes the strong desire to beat someone specific. For example, my sister and I have a friendly rivalry in tennis. We always push each other to play better.
The second word is dedication. This means being completely committed to something and willing to work hard for it. Here's an example. Her dedication to swimming is incredible. She's at the pool every morning at 5 a.m.
Dedication also means not giving up even when things get difficult. For example, it takes real dedication to stick with a sport through injuries and disappointments.
Our third word is technique. This refers to the specific way of doing something, especially the correct method or skill. Here's an example. My tennis coach is always correcting my serve technique to make it more powerful.
Right. Technique is about doing movements correctly and effectively. For example, good running technique can help avoid injuries and make you faster.
That was a perfect example. Number 4 is pressure. In sports, this means feeling stressed or nervous because of expectations or important situations. Here's an example. I always feel pressure when I'm taking the final penalty kick in a match.
Pressure can also be the expectations others have of you. For example, being the team captain puts a lot of pressure on me to perform well and lead by example.
And our final word is determination. This means having a strong will to achieve something, no matter how difficult it becomes. Here's an example. His determination to make the varsity team kept him practicing even after he got rejected twice.
Determination is that inner strength that keeps you going. For example, I showed determination by finishing the marathon even though I was exhausted and wanted to quit.
Those are our 5 vocabulary words for the second conversation. Keep them in mind as we listen.
Now let's hear our second dialogue about sports and competition.
Alex, I can't believe the regional championships are next week. How are you feeling about it?
Honestly, Emma, I'm nervous. This rivalry between our swimming club and Central City has been going on for years. They beat us last season, and everyone expects us to get revenge this time.
I totally understand that pressure. Being the fastest swimmer on our team must make it even more intense for you.
The pressure is definitely there. My coach keeps reminding me that I have the best technique in our group. But technique alone won't win against their star swimmer, Marcus. He's been training for this competition all year.
You know what, though? Your dedication has been amazing to watch. I see you at the pool every single day, working on your starts and turns. That kind of commitment has to count for something.
Thanks, Emma. You know what? Sometimes I wonder if all this hard work will pay off. Marcus broke 2 regional records last month, and here I am, still trying to shave seconds off my personal best.
But that's what makes you special. Your determination is incredible. Remember 2 years ago when you injured your shoulder? Everyone thought you'd quit swimming, but you came back stronger than ever.
That's true. The rehabilitation process was tough, but it taught me a lot about mental strength. Now I know I can push through difficult moments.
Speaking of mental strength, how do you handle the pressure during actual races? I always see you looking so calm before you dive in.
Well, I have this routine I do before every race. I focus on my breathing and visualize my technique. I try to block out everything else, the crowd, the other swimmers, even the rivalry itself.
That sounds really smart. I bet that mental preparation is just as important as physical training.
Absolutely. My coach always says that swimming is 70% mental and 30% physical at the competitive level. When you're racing against other dedicated athletes, everyone has good technique. The difference is who can stay focused under pressure.
Have you been watching videos of Marcus swimming? I know some athletes study their competition.
I have actually. His technique is really solid, especially his butterfly stroke. But I noticed he sometimes struggles with his final sprint. That's where my determination might give me an advantage.
That's such a good observation. You've always been strong in those last 50 meters.
Right. Plus, our rivalry with Central City works both ways. They feel pressure too. Marcus will have his whole team in school watching, expecting him to win again.
True. And you know what? Sometimes being the challenger instead of the defender can be liberating. You have less to lose and more to gain.
I never thought about it that way. You're right. I can swim freely while he has to protect his reputation.
Have you been working on anything special with your coach for this competition?
We've been focusing on race strategy. Instead of trying to match Marcus stroke for stroke, we're planning to use my strengths. My underwater dolphin kicks are faster than his, so I'll try to gain distance after each turn.
That's brilliant! Using your technique advantages strategically rather than just swimming harder.
Precisely. The dedication I've put into perfecting those underwater sections might be the key to winning.
I'm curious, how do you balance the competitive pressure with actually enjoying swimming? Sometimes I worry that too much focus on winning might take away the fun.
That's a great question. Honestly, there are days when the pressure makes training feel like work instead of play. But then I remember why I started swimming in the first place. I love the feeling of moving through water.
That's beautiful. So even with all this rivalry and competition, you still connect with the pure joy of the sport.
Definitely. My determination isn't just about beating Marcus or Central City. It's about becoming the best swimmer I can be. The competition just gives me a goal to work toward.
That perspective is so healthy. Win or lose, you'll know you gave everything you had.
Right. And honestly, having a strong rival like Marcus has made me a better athlete. Without that challenge, I might not have developed this level of dedication and technique.
That's such a mature way to think about competition. You're turning rivalry into motivation for self-improvement.
Yes, and well, at the end of the day, we're all pushing each other to be better. That's what good competition should do.
You right. I'll be cheering for you next week. Your determination and positive attitude deserve to be rewarded.
Thanks, Emma. Whatever happens, I know I've prepared as well as I possibly could. The rest is up to the race itself.
What an inspiring conversation between Emma and Alex. There was so much depth in their discussion about competition and mental preparation.
I really appreciated how they talked about the psychological side of sports. Alex mentioned that swimming is 70% mental at the competitive level. That's such an important insight that many people don't realize.
Absolutely. And did you notice how naturally they used our vocabulary words? The rivalry between the swimming clubs wasn't just about winning. It was this ongoing competitive relationship that pushes both teams to improve.
Right. And Alex showed incredible determination by coming back from a shoulder injury stronger than before. That takes real mental toughness to overcome setbacks like that.
The way they discussed pressure was really interesting too. Alex acknowledged feeling nervous about expectations, but Emma helped him see that his rival Marcus faces pressure as well. Sometimes we forget that everyone in competition deals with stress.
That's such a valuable point. And I loved how Alex talked about his technique. Not just having good form, but using his technical strength strategically. Those underwater dolphin kicks could be his secret weapon.
That's right. And the dedication aspect was truly impressive. Emma mentioned seeing Alex at the pool every single day, working on specific skills. That level of commitment is what separates good athletes from great ones.
What struck me most was Alex's mature perspective on rivalry. Instead of seeing Marcus as just an enemy to beat, he recognized that having a strong competitor has made him a better swimmer.
That's such wisdom. Competition can bring out the best in people when they approach it with the right mindset. Alex is using the challenge to motivate self-improvement rather than just trying to defeat someone else.
And Emma was such a supportive friend throughout the conversation. She helped Alex see different perspectives, like how being the challenger instead of the defender can actually be liberating.
Great observation. Good friends can help us reframe stressful situations. Emma reminded Alex of his strengths and helped him focus on what he could control rather than worrying about things outside his influence.
I found their discussion about balancing competition with enjoyment really thoughtful. Alex admitted that sometimes pressure makes training feel like work, but he tries to remember his love for swimming itself.
That's so important for any athlete or anyone pursuing goals, really. When we get too focused on outcomes, we can lose connection with what made us passionate about something in the first place.
The conversation also showed how getting ready goes beyond just physical training. Alex has mental routines, studies his competition, and works with his coach on race strategy. It's a thorough method for achieving results.
And notice how different this conversation was from our first one with Sarah and Jake. That was about starting something new, while this was about performing at a high level. Both perspectives on sports are valuable and relatable.
Definitely. Whether you're a beginner trying something for the first time or an experienced athlete preparing for big competition, there are always mental and emotional challenges to navigate.
What I appreciated most was how Alex framed his goals. Yes, he wants to win, but his deeper motivation is becoming the best swimmer he can be. That's a much healthier approach than just focusing on beating others.
And that determination we heard, it wasn't just about this one race. It was about his whole journey as an athlete, including overcoming injury and continuing to improve despite setbacks.
Both conversations today showed us that sports are about so much more than just physical activity. They're about personal growth, friendship, overcoming challenges, and finding meaning in the pursuit of excellence. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Max and Mia podcast.
We hope you enjoyed listening to the conversations and learning some useful sports vocabulary with us.
Remember, the best way to improve your English is by practicing a little every day. And we're here to help you do just that.
If you liked this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with your friends who are also learning English.
And if you want to review the vocabulary or listen again, you can always replay this episode or check out our previous ones.
Thanks for joining us today. We love having you as part of our English learning community.
Until next time, listeners.